Welcome back to News Channel 5's Midday. The first round of the Red River Athletic Conference basketball tournament is currently going on over at the Rapides Parish Coliseum. The action started bright and early this morning with the biggest local rivalry to start out the day. Sports Director Dylan Doming is joining us here in the studio with more. Dylan.
Yeah, thanks, Joanna. So we usually aren't here on Midday talking about sports that already happened today, but usually basketball games don't tip off at 8 a.m. This morning, Louisiana Christian and LSUA met for the first time in the conference tournaments, and coming into today, LSUA had never lost to their Cenla rival, winning the last 3 matchups all by 1 possession. So what things changed today? Well, the real question is what team would wake up the fastest this morning in the early morning tip-off. Starting in the first half, Ferrante Banks on the move, gets to the lane and gets the and one. Wildcats taking advantage of the speed this morning. Here in transition this time, feeding the big fella Jude with the 2-hand slam. But LSUA getting things going later in the half. J.D. Allen comes off the screen. He fires a long 2-pointer. Generals, though, trailed by 12 at the break. And the story of this game was the Wildcats defense. They get the steal and the score here. They kept applying the pressure, and at one point in the second half, they led by 30 points over the Generals. Louisiana Christian gets their first ever win over LSUA, sends their rivals home, likely ending their season. The Wildcats moving to the second round with a 73-50 win. And joining us from the Rapides Parish Coliseum is Elijah Nixon with more on this game. Elijah?
Yeah, Dylan, there was 2 things on my mind when I woke up. It started both with B's, breakfast and basketball. Right now, the LCU Wildcats have done the impossible. Well, the impossible to us, because they have beat a higher seed of LSUA. And this is what tournament time is all about. There's no such thing as records. There's no such thing as better seeding, because at the end of the day, you have to play. You have to live in this moment, and LCU did a great job of living in the moment, and it started on the defensive end. Ferrante Banks was in the pockets of any ball handler for LSUA, who couldn't, and they couldn't even get a shot off. Let me tell you, Wildcats defense will go from man to zone. It was confusing the Generals. It was just making the Generals look like they couldn't get anything going. Now, 50 points is the least amount of points they have scored all year. Now, that is ridiculous, because in the sense of, you know, in tournament time, you want to bring your best basketball. They just couldn't. Now, also for the Wildcats, they have lost to LSUS, and they lost to Jarvis Christian, who they will see one of those guys in the next round. And their motivation isn't just because they lost to those guys. It's just to get to the championship game. We've seen those guys do it last year, sneak into the playoffs, get into that seed, get into the last seed, and go all the way to the championship round. There's no doubt in their mind that they can't do it again. They found the right pieces at the end of the year, and they're just hoping to bring things together as tournament time continue to roll for those guys.
Thank you, Elijah. So LCU keeping their season alive, and coming up later this evening, Louisiana Christian and LSUA will meet on the women's side of the bracket. Tip-off for that one will be around 4:45.